Okay, thanks very much. I'm Jamie Gallagher, and I am a kind of freelance public engagement specialist and trainer and deliverer. And I'm going to be talking a little bit about innovative public engagement and also some of just the practical details of planning your engagement. So if you've got something coming up in the festival, just kind of the milestones to go through, or if you're planning events in future, just something to bear in mind. I always like to kind of introduce myself to start off with, and I feel the easiest way of doing it is just kind of picking 3 photos I feel sums me up. I realise the slides might be slightly difficult to see, but the first one over here is me with a woman. Does anyone recognise the woman I'm with?
Jennifer Saunders.
No, that's quite kind of good guess though. I can kind of see it. Not Jennifer Saunders. Off to a bad start. This Gates McFadden.
Star Trek.
Yes, Dr. Crusher from Star Trek. So, why does that sum me up and why are we in a dance pose? Well, I'm a massive sci-fi fantasy geek. I love Star Trek, so that's part of my character summed up there. We're in a dance pose because in the evenings I'm a salsa teacher, and Gates McFadden, the Dr. Crusher in Star Trek, is also a choreographer. She choreographed the Labyrinth film. So that picture there sums up my love of dance and sci-fi and fantasy. In the middle here is me in a onesie, and that's because I did a PhD in chemistry and electrical engineering, and I wear a onesie because I worked on nanotechnology, things so small that skin or hair falling from me is like a boulder crashing down on top. So I wear a onesie, not to protect me from the things I work on, but to protect the things I work on from me. So yes, a science background, please do not hold that against me. Third aspect of my character is a kind of as performer or trainer. So for 4 years I was the public engagement lead at the University of Glasgow. As Michael said, one of the things I did there was organise the Being Human Hub last year. And being a large research-intensive institution, I saw many engagement projects from across our 4 different colleges. I was part of lots, and I also ran some large-scale engagement events. Because I was kind of a team of 1 for most of the time I was there, I had to really think about the process behind kind of excellence in public engagement and have templates that I could kind of drag and drop that were helpful for getting researchers up and running with their events, which I'm going to go through some of those today. Just to start off though, thinking about the kind of innovative public engagement, I just want us to think for a moment about the ways in which we communicate. And I'd like it if we could just maybe spend just like 2 or 3 minutes just on our tables, just discussing in your day-to-day worlds the way in which we are communicating. This isn't as researcher and public, but just the ways in which people communicate, the things that you read, the things that you experience, the way ideas are transmitted among you. And I'm really great if we could just, on our tables, I'll give you like 2 or 3 minutes, just discuss the ways and the forms of communication. So give it 3 minutes, off we go. I mean, the routes that we communicate are kind of endless, and as a kind of public engagement professional, what kind of pains me slightly is we have such a wealth of ways of communicating, and yet within academia we so often gravitate towards let's give a talk. Or, no offence, in the humanities, let's do a creative writing workshop. That's a really common one. And I understand it, because these are valuable things that have places, but also they're quite safe. And what I just want us to remember is when we're designing an event, we have an absolute blank canvas. You don't have to start with, let's give a talk and let's work out what the talk's going to be on. You start by thinking, I want to share something. I've got something to share, and I want to connect with people to share it. I mean, like dance is a fascinating example for me. So as a salsa teacher, when I'm dancing with someone, the complexity of information I'm giving that person without opening my mouth astounds me. I communicate an incredibly complex set of patterns and movements through gestures in my hand, and it works incredibly well. Communication is varied, and it's about finding something that suits your subject, that suits yourself, and also suits your audience that you'll work with. So don't start off with, I'm going to give a talk. Start off with, I've got something to share, and work out who you want to share it with. And use all the tools at your disposal. Work out your own interests and passions and skills and weave that through your communication. Just quickly, I want to highlight 4 examples from Glasgow, where I worked. I've got one from each of our 4 colleges. First of all, this was in our College of Arts, and this is Minty Donald, and she researches, and I won't do her justice here, but she researches the way people interact with passive works of art. So this isn't things installed in art galleries that people will go and actively look at. She looks at things like graffiti or street installations where people pass by them and barely notice them. And so she does things like creates works of art. So these were ingots that were embedded into a canal. And then the fascinating part of her research is how she evaluates people's experience. And I met with Minty to work out, well, how do you evaluate a passive experience? Because she can't speak to people, because that alters the experience of the passive work of art. So what Minty does is she hides in bushes and bus shelters and listens to people. It's extraordinary, but this genuinely is what she does. She installed a work of art in windows across the street, and she spent the entire day sitting in a bus shelter, just listening. Do people discuss the work? Do conversations shift as they pass the work? Do people stop and look at it? And for me, it was just an extraordinary topic. And again, from a science background, I learned a lot from Minty just listening to her. And I'll leave you with one of the phrases from Minty's talk that just always stayed with me. I don't understand it, but it's brilliant. Minty says it's important not only to consider your human audiences, but to also consider your non-human audiences. I don't understand that, but it seems amazing. She did mention a doll. I'm not entirely convinced she wasn't talking about the doll. Anyway, so that's one form. Another form of public engagement from our College of Science that I just adore. This was a chemistry project where they gave schools ingredients to make crystals. And the school kids were getting a good experience of doing these scientific experiments, and they're producing these little crystals. And these crystals had never been grown before. You can't have enough PhD students to try every possible combination of ingredients, but they can get the students to do the workhorse model. So what was happening here was students were getting a really positive learning experience, but they were actually producing new research. By using a kind of citizen science approach, new data, new publications came out of this public engagement project, which I really, really liked. Beneficial to the students and beneficial to the research process. Another one, an example from our College of Social Science, Professor Ferric McNeil researches the lives of people within inside the prison system. And superficially, he could have gone and could have just interviewed the people and then interviewed the families of people inside the prison system, but he decided that's not the route he wanted to go down. So he paired the people up with singer-songwriters to explore their experience and turn their experience into songs. And the songs were then sung to the families and friends of people. So an incredibly emotive experience. And what I love about this was it was empowering a community, giving them a different voice, a different form of voice. And he'd done the project really thoughtfully, really carefully and sensitively, even to the extent that the songs were commercially released. But there's a lot of ethics and issues around people inside the prison system earning money for work that they produce. So it was a very difficult and complex process to do, but I think so rewarding to give these people a different voice. And then to gather in the family and to hear the family's experiences. The families were discovering things that they hadn't discussed with their relatives, but they were finding new voices through song. And the last little example of engagement projects from Glasgow was from our College of Medical, Veterinary and Life Sciences, and it was a project looking at communicable diseases in low-income countries. And this project had kind of many strands. So the researcher was going out looking at communication diseases among livestock, but going to the community and just saying, like, I want to examine your animals and gather data and then run away wasn't working in that community. So she had to work out how she engages with the people, and she had to take a multifaceted approach. So even to the extent of bringing in the community group with men and women didn't work because the women in the community weren't confident in that environment speaking in front of the men. So as a learning experience in this environment, they had to separate the men and women out to allow the women to speak freely in the project. They had strands looking at schools, so educating children. So they had kind of community groups, they had children, and again, working in Tanzania, how do you communicate messages far and wide? They employed local singer-songwriters to produce kind of scientifically informed songs, because the radio and musical culture was such an important way of sharing information there, that by the creation of songs, by doing school projects and careful work with the communities, they really took a kind of holistic approach to their communication, and they really embedded themselves as researchers in that community to come up with a kind of really valuable project, rather than just parachuting in, extracting the information they need and leaving, but working with the community. So those were just some of the little examples, and for me it was thinking a little bit outside the box. You know, let's not give a talk, let's not give a seminar, let's think, how can we do something creative and wonderful that is really engaging around the research topic, and that's what I love to see. To take you through just some of the kind of key steps, I think, of planning any kind of public engagement project. The start, so right now where you are, rally the troops within your organisations. There are a lot of people who can lend expertise or information. I've got some up here, so you might have a public engagement department within your university, knowledge exchange, your impact manager or impact champion within your school, evaluation, wider participation, impact champion, I mentioned that, research development, so looking at developing new skills, comms, external marketing. These are people to get in touch with. As a public engagement officer in the university, what I really, really, really hated was a researcher going off, planning a lovely event, coming to me 6 weeks before the event and saying, can you help me sell tickets? And that happened a lot. And for me, it's like, well, you've missed, I had information, I could have helped you through the process. I'd have taken some of the work off you, I'd have given you all the best practice and examples. These people aren't the ones that you involve just to, oh, can you tweet it, can you promote it? Start now, have meetings, get in touch, say, I'm planning this. I'd really love it if we could meet up and have a little chat. Try and work on something together. So you will have a list of people that some of you might have contacted already, some of you next week go back to your institutions and contact them. And again, I thought just to deliberately give you the space to do it, I'm going to give you two and a half minutes. And I want you to write down the names or the positions of the people who can help you engage outside of the university. So I'll give you 2 minutes, write down as many either names or positions within your organisation of people that can assist you in your engagement journey. So I'll give you 2.5 minutes to scribble down some information. So I'm not going to come around the room for this one because it will be unique to your own institution. And for me, when I'm planning a large event, that's the first step I go to. So I've got the confirmation of the award, or I've decided I'm going to organise something in my head, and then I contact all these people. Now, some of them will be dead ends, some of them might prove to be really fruitful relationships. But the idea is contact them as early as possible, say this is happening, let's meet up, let's have a conversation about it, because these can be brilliant allies, and it's difficult to invest them at the end. If you go to comms and say, can you tweet my event, can you put it up on the Facebook event, just before it, they're not going to be interested. They plan, they have calendars, they have schedules, so contact them nice and early, get on board with them, make them your friends. The next kind of stage that you enter, and this is as things get a little bit closer, is preparing to share your event. And you need to kind of work at this. It's not just a case of you will tweet and do Facebook statuses at the time. You have these kind of things pre-written. Thinking just even first about the title. Short. Shorter than you're thinking of. Whatever you've written, whatever you're thinking of, shorter than that. Yeah, like
No colons.
no colons. And it's such a difficult. I always want to. It's so difficult. Your title doesn't have to tell everyone exactly what is happening in the event. The title is setting the scene, it's triggering the interest in your topic. A few words, just set a tone, that's all you're trying to do, but it'll make people curious. In the blurb, so the public-facing blurb, I would personally avoid things like learn and hear, kind of passive things. I don't like kind of saying, come and learn about this. If I want to learn about something, I'll go and read about it. Think about how you're using kind of active phrases. Think about discover, uncover, explore, share, things that people are going to feel they're involved in, that they're going to have an active participation in, rather than, I'll give a talk and you can listen. Listen should be scored out there as well. So discover, uncover, explore. These are words to use to try and make your event seem like, yes, you're in for an experience, rather than just being talked at. Photographs as well. So this is something I found from the organising the Being Human Hub. I had 10 or so events, and I asked people to give me photographs to advertise their event, and they were crap. They really were. And that was because they'd gone for the literal. There was one group and they're like, well, we're going to be giving lunchtime talks, right? Okay, and there was live music. So the photograph was like 3 lecturers standing in front of the board. And it was just kind of like someone had taken it on a pretty old camera phone, and it just, no. So even because you've made friends with your comms department, they'll probably have Shutterstock accounts. Go on, look and see what images you can take. Just nice, illustrative, setting tones. Not, this is going to be a talk, so it's me holding a microphone giving a talk. What is it about? What gives an impression of your event? Find that somewhere and see if, comms will have access to lots of beautiful images. Set a tone rather than literally show what's happening in your event. Have links and things if you need to, you feel you need to put a lot of information, have links to additional information, have the links ready to go as well. So before you announce it to the world, have everything lined up backstage so it's all complete before you're sharing it. So this is the preparing to share stage, the area where you're just getting all your information together and organised. Around the same time, you also want to think about recruiting people. There will be more probably than just you involved in your event. Think about volunteer helpers, venue managers and presenters. On the day, what you want to be doing is as little as possible. If you are running an event, okay, you're maybe speaking and things like that, but you don't want to be speaking and registering people in and setting up the tables and doing the tea, your time will just evaporate. Lots of people are going to want to speak to you, so you find other people that can assist you in running the events. So look at PhD students or undergraduates, set out the benefits to those participants as well. So I used a lot of undergraduate helpers, a lot of PhD students. They got certificates, some of them got reference letters. I tried to create an environment where they were going to be gaining skills as well. It wasn't a case of I need free labour, come in and do it. It was a case of here's an opportunity, an experience that you might want to be part of. And you will need a few. Tell them what they're getting involved in as well. Is it just to be there on the night, or do they have to do prep work? What is it going to look like? Give them a realistic expectation of them. And all the dates and times and places that they need to be. And I would also, and I'll come on to this in a minute, include an induction. Bring people together, everyone that's going to be involved in that event, in the venue you're going to be delivering, and just walk through. Where are the toilets? Where's the registration desk going to be? How are things going to happen? Really, really valuable to be in the space and have a little look around. And as you get a little bit further, so you've got all your people, you've got all your blurb, you go into the sharing the event. Don't email people and say, can you tweet about this event? Email people and say, can you tweet about this event? Here is a draft tweet. It's really, really difficult to write your own content to promote your event. It's almost impossible to write content to promote someone else's event. Do the work for people. So when you're wanting other people to share this and think about your partners, think about your institutions, write your perfect version and send it to them. Send them a couple of different options and if send them reminders as well. Give them days and times. Make it really, really easy for people to help promote your event. Don't just say, I'm doing an event, here's the link, can you share it? Write the tweet, include images and things like that. So make it really easy to share your content. That's about 6 to 8 weeks you want to be ramping up, because that's the key time for getting the tickets out the door. And about 3 weeks before the event, that's when you want your induction. Go to the venue with everyone that's involved in delivery, walk through, have briefings, give out a physical handout describing minute by minute how the event is going to go. Allow your volunteers to ask questions, get them familiar, because they're going to be crucial to you running a successful event on the day. And also on the day, have a little event pack. Now, I've left some cards on the table. I'll explain most of those later, but one of them is an event pack checklist. It's just things to go down and make sure you have. Things like blue tack and sellotape and written briefings, a printed version of how you're going to introduce the event, contact names of everyone that's involved in the event. These are things that will easily escape you on the day. So 2 weeks before, you prepare everything on that checklist and you have it ready to go. So on the day, you just take that bag and you've got everything that you might need. Because things will crop up and you need to plan as much as possible so that nothing surprises you on the day. I wanted to, just got just enough time, to rattle through tabletop activities as an exemplar for public engagement. Because I think treating these as a little microcosm, a lot of little issues kind of come up. So, firstly, a question. What makes a good tabletop activity? So you may be seeing these where something, it might be part of a larger event, a little activity set up. A question to you, what makes a good tabletop activity? Interesting, yes. Yeah? Anything else?
Tactile.
Tactile, yes. I like something, if you're presenting something, the idea that people can actually experience and touch, brilliant.
Not too many rules.
Not too many rules, yeah, it can't be complicated, it needs to be a simple process to get involved in.
So we do that with children and having an example of what you might create, is quite useful.
Examples, yeah, so if it's something people are going to create, showing this is what the final thing you're driving towards. One more? Accessible, yes. So everyone and anyone can come and get involved, and there aren't kind of barriers in terms of knowledge or physical requirements. To flip it on its head, what makes a bad tabletop activity? I know. I do have a Word document on my computer where I save photographs of people behind tables. I'll show you some. What makes a bad tabletop activity? What do you think?
Too long?
Yeah, too much.
Long, yeah. So if it's a long involved process, people are going to be fed up.
Having to look at things like screens as well as the tabletop.
Yes. So having lots of information behind, having it very scattered. Where are you looking? That's one. So there's one over here. What's there? Yep, one there.
I mean, this might not be true of all of them, but I think having someone watching over the tabletop activity is often a good reason for people want to take part.
Yeah. Kind of the idea is it for me, and kind of like it looks very kind of official. So just some examples. And again, I know most of you are not doing tabletop activities, but I think so many of the rules are fundamental to engagement activities. So first thing is set the scene. When people enter the environment, what is the first thing they see? Is it a poster behind a table? Is it a researcher hiding behind a table, talking to the other researcher? The first thing people see when they enter the environment. Is it welcoming? Is it friendly? How is that environment going to make them feel? And that's tabletop activity or other activity. The table as well. If you're doing a tabletop activity, do not stand behind the table unless you really have to. Because tables have an inherent power imbalance. Think of any situation where you are approaching someone behind the desk. In that situation, the person behind the desk tends to be the one in authority and power, and it's the powerless petitioner who approaches the table. Break down that barrier. Go to the side of the table, stand with the person, invite them into your world. Standing behind the table creates a physical barrier. So really be conscious of physical barriers when you're doing your events. Here's some of my examples. So this one, happy smiling people, that's good. This is the Ontario Museum. And what I love is the first thing you see, thank you for not touching. Don't touch. Here's things that you'll want to touch. Don't touch them. And I was like, so if there's something not to be touched, don't have it and touch it. I want to touch it. It doesn't work. If they're not allowed to touch it, then they're not allowed to touch it. Maybe have a glass case, maybe have it a place that it's not easy to touch. Another really common one, we have the researcher interaction. Like this is not for the public. We're busy, we're playing with our own things. Everyone else is be damned. If you're presenting something, if you're sharing it, it's not for you, it's for everyone else. You need to invite them into your world and not be busy with your colleagues. Another one here. I mean, her face says all, really. Try and muster some enthusiasm. What I'll say as well, they're behind the tables, so it's that physical barrier. Sitting is only okay as an accessibility measure. If you're capable of standing and your audience will be standing, try and think being on the same level playing field as them. If you expect them to stand, then you should stand as well. It's not a case of I'm enthroned here and the petitioners may come towards me. So they're wanting people to come and experience their dead birds, and yet they're not creating that welcoming environment. Children very often will not obey the social cues. Children are confident enough to just go up and get started, but as an adult, grumpy person sitting behind a table, I need to do all the work. You need to be in front, inviting people into your world. Right. And the other thing, we've totally got enough time for this. So, what I want you to do just now is the little stack of cards I put in your table. Could someone kind of get that stack of cards? The whole pile. Now there's colourful ones facing up, and then there's white ones facing down. Keep them facing out, facing down, and share out between two little bundles of cards. So there should be a little stack of 40, little stack of 40, little stack of 40, little stack of 40. Share those out between two. So take a pile and give it to a pair. It's okay, we'll get there. So, nice and simple. The coloured ones, the ones that have patterns facing up, ignore them, just set them aside for now. The ones that are facing down are in bundles of 40. Share those so that between two you have a little pile of cards facing down. Okay, good. Just enough time for this. So leave it facing. So next instruction, on those cards facing down, hopefully like pair up so you've got a little pile of cards between two, or split them if you need additional little piles. On those cards are famous novels, best-selling books, the front cover. In pairs, I'm going to give you 2 minutes each, and one person's going to go first, and you're going to describe the book that you're looking at. But you're not allowed to say the title, you're not allowed to say any of the characters, but you have to get that other person to guess the book you're looking at. So the rules. The rules. Yes. No authors, no characters, and no title. So here's the rules. You're going to take it in turns. One person will describe, one person will guess. You can't say the title or any of the key words in the title. The and of and are fine. No characters' names or authors' names. You can pass twice, so if you don't know, you can skip twice. Get as many correct as you can in 2 minutes. Okay. So the context, I play this game, and it's about how very often, even having never read a book, sometimes we have a strong familiarity with it. And I did this with a group of scientists, and I was asking what was easy to get and what was difficult to get, and someone said, Frankenstein was easy to get. They said a monster created by a scientist, and right away got Frankenstein. And then I was thinking, what would Mary Shelley think about that? If she saw a monster created by a scientist, now would she think, that's brilliant, there's such familiarity with my book that there's this really strong resonance? Or would she think, well, you're missing out a lot of the detail and the subtext and the allegories. And what we need to think about when we're doing our public engagement is we're really looking for that monster created by a scientist. We're not going to get all the richness and all the detail and all the allegories and symbolism that are in our work. But if we can connect people to our work, to have a strong resonance, to say this is what we do and this is why we do it, if we get that instant connection, that's such a valuable thing. And only by slimming down our work and working out what is our simple, shareable message, are we going to come up with something that's really going to resonate and be memorable. So you will have to sacrifice some of the detail and the richness of your work. But that's just because you're on the first stepping stone of creating a lasting partnership. In the step one of your conversation, you can't get all the detail. So think when you're thinking about sharing your work, think about how we share stories, what those quick resonances are, what is it that sticks in people's mind, and what will your monster created by a scientist message be, so that when someone leaves your event, they say, oh, I went to this fantastic event. It was on this. And there'll be a simple, shareable message that they'll take home. And you're going to have to work to curate that by slimming down all your content to create something really powerful and shareable. So that's what I want to say in the first part. You'll get more of me after lunch. Do you want to try the game thing, or do you want lunch? Lunch.